Ruth Ann?
Yes, I wrote down a few comments so that I would be coherent. First is that it's a most impressive document. It was a pleasure for me working with the folks at RJM. Their expertise was apparent, and it's always great not to have to do the grunt work. Then we can just sit back and suggest how to make it even better. I personally feel privileged to have contributed in my small way, both as a community member and as a commissioner in this process. I read the final draft thoroughly. That stuff went right over my head. It seemed pretty clear to me. But I know he's really into some of it. But what I found was it read loud and clear to me that our community should be very proud of all of our accomplishments. The inventory of facilities shows me that our glass is half full, certainly not half empty. I was particularly pleased that my voice was heard when I asked for the new plan to have our heritage and history permeate the document. I wasn't sure how such a concept could be included, but I thought it was done beautifully. Perhaps it might have been included anyway, but no matter, it's there for all to see, so thank the powers that be for that. I appreciated that the plan wasn't done in a vacuum, but that the entire valley, One Vision, was included, as well as all the private facilities that were listed. Of course, multi-purpose trails weren't mentioned often enough to suit me, but with open space playing such a prominent role in the plan, I figure there's always going to be trails and open space. And the connectivity, which we also discussed, of these trails was mentioned, and certainly shown in the maps. So I feel no need to belabor the point of trails. I'll get around to that down the road, of course. Now all we have to do is find the money so we can give our community as many of its desires as humanly possible. I feel everyone needs to get a piece of the pie. One question, the document mentions an appendix. I never saw an appendix. I presume it'll be attached to the final document. There, on various pages, it mentions appendix. Where is it?
There are several appendixes, the principal of which is the Park Maintenance Facility appendix, which makes recommendations in terms of how we ought to be maintaining certain portions of the park. I'm sure Elena, Tom, or Wayne could give you some detail on those. We'd be happy to make them available to you. We didn't reproduce them because they tend...
That's what I figured it would... If anybody wanted to look at them,
absolutely.
That they could, but I noticed in several chapters it mentioned and blah, blah in the appendix, so
One of the things that happened during the needs assessment is that the specialist, Barbara Harrison on recreation, I can't remember, Jim Fowler, was it? From on park maintenance, spent extensive time looking at the types of equipment we used, our watering schedules and those types of things, and there are a number of recommendations that are, I would describe as generally technical, that are oriented towards the line staff, and those things we'll be using as we move forward. The good side of things is that we're, as Bob has indicated to you in some of the previous presentations, our standards are so high there, we may end up being held up as a model rather than having a lot of things to do in those recommendations.
Well, I didn't want to go to the appendix. There wasn't anything specific that I was interested in reading further on, but I was just curious that, it mentioned it several times and that there was no appendix.
I think one thing we might do to help is maybe we can give some kind of a description of what the appendixes are, so it's a little bit more detailed, and that maybe even just in the table of contents so people understand where they are and how they can access them.
Okay. And my final comment is that I know we spent a bundle on this process, and I'm curious from the staff's point of view. I'd like to pose the question, what surprises did this enormous undertaking, this plan, give you, if any? It does seem to me that so much was already being done right by by the city. We've certainly been on the right track. Therefore, what was the overall benefit to you, staff, in having this enormous undertaking accomplished?
Well, I'm going to let Elena and Tom and Wayne and Adele and Toy tell you what their thoughts are, but I would tell you more or less what I just told Commissioner Redd. This is a document that now, for me, is leverage. It is, if you think back to the discussions 2 years ago when the Community Tennis Association was before you, we anecdotally knew that there was a tennis need. We, from a staff perspective, believed there was a tennis need, but the document tells you that there is. Mm-hmm. And so it is, at least in my role for the city, and with you and the city council and the senior staff of the city, at some point I'm an advocate for parks, recreation, and community services in the valley. And this is a document that becomes part of my repertoire as I continue to be an advocate until the point that I'm not supposed to be an advocate, until such time when you reach compromise and you move forward with what benefits all the citizens, whether it be roads or parks.
So it's an in-the-flesh tool.
Yes.
That makes it easier to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Yes.
Chair Hauser, members of the commission, if I could just kind of add to that answer a bit. For me, one of the surprises was to look at the opportunity sites page in this document. When you put them all together, it's very exciting for someone who, has a career in building parks and trails and developing open space into usable areas. And it wasn't until we put them all together, none of them are easy projects to develop or sites to develop, but Tom and I were talking about how exciting it is looking into the future and having those sites identified. And it really is a roadmap along with folding into the needs assessment as to what needs to go on those sites. So for us who are in the parks planning business, it's very exciting for us. And that was surprising to see when you collect them all together.
Anything else from staff?
And you guys have 2 cents worth?
He's got 3 cents.
I mean, I find this so fascinating because, as a commission, as important as we are, we're not privy to everything within the staff, within your departments, and it's hard to know some of these things if you just don't ask.
Yes, good evening. Tom Riley, Parks Planning Administrator. I had kind of barged in on the process and told Rick I really wanted to be involved in it because, as Wayne said, we do these things over the years, and we look at a lot of master plans, but to kind of be midway in the development of our city, to have a chance to really have a quality consultant and staff kind of throw all their efforts into it. So I thought the whole data collection process, last summer, and the meetings were really fascinating. The way they blended people together and kind of got everyone from the tennis people to the BMX people to the fly fishing people, kind of to see how we can't do everything, but there's something there for everyone. Just surprise to me was really I think the demographic trends that have kind of woken us up a little bit, that we're a graying community somewhat, but there's also a bubble of like 14 to 20-year-old, and I count myself among those. It's like those lifetime sports like tennis, as Rick points out, kind of start to rise to the top because there are things you can do at 14, at 50, and at 75. So we're actually kind of springing off of this and doing some brainstorming immediately with my staff, and also going back and looking at the parks where can we do little niche areas, something that it may not cost a lot of money, but could add to some of the existing parks or to some of the opportunities.
The Sand Canyon Trail, right?
Well, and trails and connectivity, you're absolutely right. I'm a big advocate of that we can get more out of our system if we can walk from park to park and find different activities. So that was some of my surprises, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Anything else? Ah, yay!
Everybody gets to put in their
All right.
2 cents.
Toy Chisholm, interim recreation superintendent, and I came on very late in the game, if you will, and so, but it was really a pleasure just to see all the work that had gone into it and the validation of what we do in response to what the community wants. It's nice to see that we're doing the job that they want us to do well, and also to lead into the future when we get ready to put on new programs and recreational needs. So it's definitely an opportunity to say kudos to staff. We're on the right track, and it gives us, you know, the vision to look forward in terms of where we're headed according to the community's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Adele.
Okay, I'll go now.
This is like good and welfare in a sorority, isn't it?
Put Adele to work today.
I think the most exciting piece to me was the opportunities and the flexibility that we were given in this. It was not just go build a park and this is what it will be. It will go back and look at this park and here's an opportunity here. So I think to do, like Wade and everyone said, doing a little thing in an existing park and maximize what we already have was really exciting, especially in the future as funding gets tighter and the needs still increase. So I thought that was exciting. Sort of like thinking outside the box.
Great, thank you. Yes, Elena, please.
She's not going to be left out.
What a great question, Ruth Ann.
Wow.
Okay, Elena Galvis, Management Analyst, and Analyst is in my title, so my favorite and most surprising was the citywide survey. As you guys know, we actually spent a pretty long time talking about the survey, hearing the results, and interpreting all of that data and all of that information. Some of it was surprising. I think we make some assumptions, and when that data comes back and the real numbers are there, and it's a validated survey, that was really exciting for me. So all of those tables and that survey certainly was full of surprises for me, and definitely the information I most enjoyed.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all very much. That indeed answers my question.
You guys,
Arlene, anything from you?
Arlene,
Want to give you your opportunity as well.
great job putting it together, Arlene.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a comment on Ruth Ann's comment.
I have a comment, and Ruth Ann, I definitely agree with your comments in regards to the great job the staff has done and the things that you guys have worked so hard toward. One of the things that I noticed, and you guys didn't give yourself credit for it, is the fact that the community is very pleased with the work you do.
Yes, that
and
was a
I was
surprise.
very pleased to read they're happy with park maintenance, the way the upkeep of the parks, how you guys jump on ideas and things that you come up with for the benefit of the community and how you involve the community. I think you guys are very modest. I think you should just come out and pat yourselves on the back. Because I tell you, I'm very pleased, and I'm sure the commission is very pleased to have read that in this document, that the community overall, you get an A for everything you do. So just want to thank you, and I'm so glad that you can see that and the community can read it, that you guys are in my book, you're number one. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
Dwayne.
Funny, Elena got up with that. One of our jobs as commissioners is to go out and listen to the community and bring back here and discuss it and send it on to council, to give them an idea of what's going on. So that survey was a great tool, not only for you but for us sitting up here too. One of the things I liked best about this was the Exhibit 33-1, the facility needs, and 332, facility needs and facility needs at build out. Kind of gives us a real good idea of where we're short, where we're long, the things we need and the things we may not need. But most of all, it tells us where we need to go with this master plan. I think that, you know, as a commission, we still need to be able to look at the things that are coming down the road, what possibilities may be popping up, whether we get a piece of ground that's given to us through one manner or another, funding that comes up that we did not expect, and continue to look at things with our priorities in mind, what we think, and using this as a guideline to guide those priorities along, I think will benefit everybody in the long run. And I think this entire draft was extremely well done, and it's very simple to go through and look at all the different facilities and the things that we need to do and what can be done, what may not be able to be done. So I look forward to using this in the future to bring our Parks, Rec, and Community Services into, you know, whatever we want it to be. I think it'll be a good thing.
Great, thank you. And again, great question that you asked, Ruth Ann, and I'd like to support what everyone else has already said about the importance of this document, because it's not just a document. It reflects. It reflects where we've been, it reflects what we have now, and it reflects what it is that we need going forward. And so it's a reflection, and it's a way to guide us going forward. You know, it's kind of like a beacon light that keeps us on track. I'm reminded of, you know, when we do our priority setting as a commission, that this document, this beacon guiding light, will help this commission and help staff, help citizens, help our city council be able to make decisions as to, you know, where to put our time, where to put our money. In our priority setting process that we have done over the years, one of the things that I was a big proponent of, and Elena, you'll remember this, and that is I wanted to see in that priority setting process as it continued to evolve, some criterion, several criterion about how do we make the decision? It's based on what? Is it just based on our own individual, you know, thoughts and ideas? Well, that's great, but we need to base it on some common criteria. And we have had some documents that I've, you know, asked to be added to that criterion, such as, you know, one vision, one valley, et cetera. And what this document does is it brings everything together. And it helps this commission and city council, staff, again, and citizens, that when people come and say, you know, I want, you know, more ping pong tables in the community, we can look at this and say, you know, is that what's reflected? Like, great, it's good to be hearing that for the first time, and we'll keep an eye on that. But in terms of putting money to it as capital expenditures, are we likely going to be adding, you know, a bunch more ping pong tables because one person comes and says we need more ping pong tables? So I'm absolutely delighted to see this come to fruition.
It's a fitting document for your retirement from this commission.
Thank you.
And thinking about that, I'd like to move that we adapt the Parks and Rec Master Plan.
Can I finish first?
Sure. Oh, I thought.
But actually, I guess you can make a motion, and then I'll continue with my comments. That works. Go for it.
Is that all right? Okay. What about you, Rick? Yeah, I'd like to move that we adopt the Parks and Recreation Open Space Master Plan final draft, and for City Council review or approval.
And would you like to add to that with the request about the list of appendix to be added to that?
Okay.
The comments regarding diversity.
Right, like with the comments regarding diversity and the appendix.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. I'll finish my comments and then we can vote. Let's see, I did have a question. I wanted to go back to a comment that you made about the Todd Longshore Amphitheater. I remember years ago, way before we had monies to construct it, we were looking at the possibility of partnering with Canyon High School on Nadal, where a lot of the high schoolers park, including my son many years ago when he went to Canyon High School. There was an opportunity there to potentially, put a significant amphitheater there that could be used both by the public at the park as well as the high school. So I wonder if that's something that's still, possibility for the future, or we pretty much have closed that out, or I wonder where we are on that.
I think I would answer that question in two ways. Number one, our offer to the Heart District remains open. Should they have a need for access to the city's property along Nadal Street for parking or facilities, we would be more than happy to work with them at a very reasonable cost to accommodate them for anything that we can do to help Canyon High School. That being said, we are aware that the district did do geologic studies on that site, and based on the information that we reviewed, I think it is entirely unlikely that anything will occur further on the remainder of Todd Longshore Park, except for potential parking improvements immediately along the roadway.
Very much. Okay, with that in mind then, let's go back to the motion that we have a first and a second. Motion having to do with the recommend moving forward to City Council this draft plan for their approval that'll be coming up on Tuesday, along with adding to that the list of an appendix as well as the comments about diversity. So with that motion in mind, and we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. It's very exciting. Woohoo! Okay, that moves us on then to the park project status report.
Good evening, Chair Hauser, members of the commission, Wayne Weber, Park Superintendent. You have the report before you this evening, and if you have any questions, as usual, park staff would be happy to answer those.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commission?
You don't want me to get started again, do you?
It's your pleasure.
No, just kidding.
Okay, good. Thank you for a very
nice report,
very
Wayne.
concise report.
Very good.
Okay, that moves us to quarterly reports.
Chair Hauser, members of the commission, you have the quarterly report before you. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Copycat, right?
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to staff comments.
Thank you, Chair Hauser. Just some brief comments, and then I'm not sure if Wayne, Adele, or Toy have anything other than to wish you a happy 4th tomorrow. The fireworks extravaganza begins tomorrow night at 9:15. It's simulcast on KHTS. As you probably know, plenty of city staff will be assisting with the parade tomorrow morning as well. And so they'll go home and take a little nap and come back in the evening. Concerts in the park begin on Saturday with the Santa Clarita Symphony at Central Park. I believe you have a packet of information about access for coming into the park in front of you. I encourage you at some point to take advantage of the information that we provided, whether it be on Saturday or throughout the entire summer. And a reminder, as Chair Hauser suggested, that the Commission Recognition Breakfast is scheduled for Wednesday morning, July 16th at Newhall Park. And as we did last year, we intend to do a pancake breakfast for the staff, and we'll be hauling all 100 or so of them out there for you to meet. We would hope that you would be able to arrive by about 8 o'clock to begin cooking, and our staff will be there to help you make sure everything gets done. Dale with his power mixer in the bucket of pancake mix and et al.
You actually trust us to cook?
Chair Hauser.
Absolutely.
Chair Hauser, I have a comment. Rick, I know these breakfasts have been very successful. I've enjoyed them. In fact, I changed my vacation so I could be there. So, but I do have a recommendation. Is it possible to have music at the location for just to liven things up just a little.
We will see what we can do. I will talk to Arts and Events and see if we can come up with something. It is early in the morning, so I don't think we'll be providing a rock band, but we'll see what we can come up with.
Why not? Yeah, it's early in the morning. Everybody should be awake. Why not?
As long as we have a wish list, is it possible to have real maple syrup instead of that Aunt Jemima stuff or whatever it is that's...
We'll see what we can find.
Maybe a little special stash under the table for those of us that care.
Oh, you heard about my special stash, huh?
Can't believe it's butter. We'll see what we can do.
I wasn't going to do that, except that if you're asking for music.
Okay.
Anything that you want, Dwayne?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Well, in terms of music, I think that's a great idea. It would be wonderful that as people arrive, you know, it kind of like sets the ambiance.
The mood, sets the mood, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was talking with staff about on Monday is it kind of did a sampling of those that was in the office to say, so, you know, hey, you know, tell me about what is it from, you know, that you hear from staff. This is a recognition for them. So what is it that they really like, you know, about this? And is there anything that they don't like? And what I was hearing is that, well, we haven't heard anything about what they don't like, but, you know, they really like getting together. They love to eat. They like getting to know us as commissioners as well. And they also enjoy getting to know each other. So in working with Jody, and based on some ideas that staff had as well, who are offering, who are willing to share from their perspective what people like, et cetera. We're coming up with some ways to do that, and one of those ways is to mix people up at their tables instead of everybody, which we naturally do, kind of sit where, you know, with those that we know, that we'll come up with a way to get people, particularly during breakfast, sitting with some different people, and we'll provide a couple of questions, 2-3 questions, to kind of help guide the conversation so they're not kind of sitting there just looking at each other.
With music, you can do that. When the music stops, then they have to
well, now there's an idea.
Tables.
You have to forward that along to Jody.
We're getting silly.
Yeah, then we'll have to take their food with them.
We're getting silly.
So, yeah, so we're working on that. Remember to bring your aprons. And I asked Arlene if she would send a note out the day before.
I saw that. Thank you for that.
Want me to bring yours, Dwayne?
Yes, please.
I thought I was the only one that lost.
So Pauline doesn't have to remind him.
Sorry, Arlene, I still can't find mine.
Okay. So any other questions that anyone has?
I have one more question I noticed on this, the action items. This you said about, and I knew that the sign for equestrians on Sand Canyon, 15 miles an hour, was not going to fly because we're not a private road. But there are share the road signs that have a bicycle, a pedestrian, and an automobile. We need a 4-way sign that in the rural areas that also has a horse on it, because people don't realize that they need to share the road with the horse.
If you in the memorandum we provided you, the second bullet point indicates that traffic engineering is looking for a state-approved sign that meets the vehicle code that could be posted, and they'll be working to do what they can find that is legal.
Well, if a bicycle, if those other 3 are legal as a sign, and we know that the horses have a right-of-way on the road in the motor vehicle code, it seems to me it just means do a new sign.
In all likelihood, some other community has confronted this. There has been an established sign, and traffic engineering is looking for that sign currently.
Great, thank you. That's it for me.
Anything else about the staff recognition? Good.
I have 2 more comments. One, you probably have not heard a lot about this over the last couple of months, which is probably indicative of good things, and that has to do with the temporary skate park. You probably last remember that the council approved up to $150,000 to locate a interim skate park while the skate facility was down during the construction of Phase 4 of the sports complex.
Did you say 450,000?
150,000. We have spent a lot of time with the skaters, Elena and Tom, Wayne, myself, Toy, as well as most of the park's planning staff, working with the skaters, trying to figure out what, not only what the interim skate park looked like, but how it might operate and where it might be located. We are now, things have changed pretty dramatically since that approval by the City Council. A number of very, in our opinion, very fortuitous things have occurred that have led us to a very different place, and one that would be very difficult for me to define for you completely tonight, but let me see if I can do a 10-second job, maybe a 2-minute job. We were very fortunate. The bids for the grading portion of the project, the part one of the project, came in low. If you've been out there in the last couple of days, you'll know that it is very aggressive. They are moving quickly. So we believe that portion of the project is clearly on schedule, and they may actually deliver the pad for the skate park as much as a week early. Secondly, we bid the project for the skate park and the 14-acre expansion, and it was awarded to Valley Crest Landscape Company at the June 24th meeting of the City Council. That bid also came in very good, much under our expected budget. And that company is very motivated for a variety of reasons to get the project done ahead of schedule, and we have actually offered to them the options of working on weekends or longer days. So we're optimistic, I think is the way to say it, that the skate portion of the project, which is coming first, will be done certainly on schedule and probably well ahead of schedule. Combining that with the potential to get the pad ahead of time is promising for the new skate park. On top of that, the bid for the grading portion of the project, we included an alternate in the project and asked the contractor how long they could keep the existing park open and how much would it cost. That cost option came in favorable, and we elected to take it. And so instead of the existing skate park closing on August 15th, it will now stay open till November 15th, 3 months longer than we anticipated. So the two trains are, essentially aligning. It's entirely possible from our perspective that the downtime of the park, because there has to be some downtime, could be as short as a couple of months, somewhere between November 15th and the mid to late January, maybe at the worst, into the early couple weeks of February. And that, from our perspective, was very positive. We then, once we sort of had assembled that information, we actually sat down with the leaders of the skate community and said, here's what we know. Here's what we think is going to happen, and we're very optimistic. Would you still recommend us spending $150,000 on an interim skate park? And they said no. They thought it was crazy. They didn't think it was a good use of funds, and they'd rather see those funds returned to the project.
Great question.
Yeah. So, and we left that to them, and so we suggested some alternatives. We said we can still do some things. Depends on what your community wants us to do. And the two that we offered to them was a smaller or a miniature version of a temporary skate park, where we might bring in some skate elements and put them in Central Park, in a fenced area in Central Park, or the potential to take field trips to some of the other skating facilities in Southern California on a bus. And reminded them, or talked with them about, this is November 15th through January during a rainy period, a cold period, and when it's getting dark at 4:30 in the afternoon. And in general, they were very supportive of those ideas. We sent them an email to that effect. They posted it on their website to all the skaters who have been involved. And the feedback we are getting so far is that they're more interested in the field trips than an interim skate park. We won't know for sure how this is all going to play out till the day that pad gets delivered to us, when we can start construction, which is roughly the 15th of August. So with any luck, in about a month, we'll be able to let you know what we think is going to happen, whether we need an interim skate park or whether we'll be going in a different direction. But in general, the work that Parks Planning has done and working with the engineering department has been very positive. The skaters have been very supportive, and we're really pleased because we think this is the best use of public funds at this point.
Very exciting, Rick.
Very good. Excellent.
And we're, with the commission being dark in August, it would be great if you could send out some sort of a communication to let the commissioners know.
We'll do that as soon as we have some sense of what's going on. And it may not be August 15th. It may be after Valley Crest says this is what we think, but we're very encouraged right now.
I like.
That's great.
Yeah, I like the idea of the field trips, Rick. And what about throwing in some tickets or some passes to a BMX kind of show or exhibit or extreme sports event or something?
We'll figure something out. We'll make it exciting. I mean, I think one of the things we have to be careful of is that we don't want to descend on another community with a bunch of our skaters and take over their community skate park. I mean, I'm sure Elena's sitting there thinking about the skate park down the street from her in Glendale going, So, but, you know, there are private facilities here in Southern California where, in Simi Valley, for example, that have BMX elements. So we'll be looking at those types of options. So. Finally, I just want you all to know that one of the familiar faces that you've known for 4 or 5 years here at the Commission won't be coming as often anymore. And I kind of want to publicly thank her, and that's Elena. As you probably know, the City Manager's Office rotates the management analyst position throughout the various departments in the city periodically, and it used to happen a little more frequently than it's happened in the past. It used to happen every couple of years, and it's been about 4 years, Elena? So Elena's been with us for 4 years, which for a management analyst in this city is a bit of a lifetime, but Elena and all of the management analysts are going to be rotating to different departments on August 1st, and so this is Elena's last commission meeting. And I have to tell you that I, in particular, want to thank her, and I know you will wish her well as she moves on to administrative services, and she will be in charge of finances, which I see as a good thing.
Very good thing.
Oh, that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toy is also in that rotation. Toy gets to go to community development. So
We just got Toy, didn't we? That's
well,
too
Toy's
short.
sitting in for Shannon for a little bit. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we have some rotation going on in the city, but we wish Elena well, and I'm sure she's thrilled to be done with the master plan, so she doesn't have that hanging over her head.
An open space.
Gosh, we picked the right time to leave, Laura, you know?
That's right. I'm delighted that this all could be finished up on your watch as well.
Yeah, thank you,
So
Elena, for all your work.
Thank you for all that you've done. You're just incredible. Can't imagine you not being here with Parks, Recreation, Community Services. Wow.
In your big stack of pancakes.
Well, you
next
won't
year.
have to imagine it.
I said I'm stepping aside. I'm not going away.
Well, that's true.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, I also want to thank someone who's behind the scenes all the time, who helps all of this also work so well, particularly for videotaping, and that's Micah. Micah, thank you so much for all you do. We don't see you out here, but I know you see us. So thank you for everything that you do. So is there any other further business before we adjourn tonight?
Just want to say that I'm definitely going to miss you guys. You know, this is your last official meeting. Dwayne and Commissioner Hauser, you guys are going to be sorely missed. And I was going to save my comments for September, but just want to let you know that since this is your last time you'll be sitting up here, that I'm definitely going to miss both of you guys. Dwayne, especially you, because I remember taking the reins from you when I first came on. I remember sitting back in the back, checking things out, and you brought me this big stack of books.
I remember.
My daughter was sitting with me, and she's like, "What is that, Dad?" I go, "I have no idea." But I want to thank you very much, and you've been really great and an inspiration also for me. And you know, Laura, you know, I don't have to say anything. You know how much I'm going to miss you and your leadership. So I'm just going to give you a piece of my thank yous for now, and I'll save it for later on. Okay.
Much. Great. So are we adjourning to July 16th because we're all going to be together? So what I'd like to do is to adjourn this meeting to July 16th, 8 o'clock in the morning. See you all there.
8 or 8:30.
Well, it starts at 8:30, but we're
cook
gonna
it in.
show up. All of us. We're gonna show up by 8 o'clock.
Good thing you mentioned that.
Okay? Yes. 8 o'clock. See you there.
Gold, gold, gold! The newspapers screamed gold when James Marshall pulled his famous nugget out of John Sutter's mill. But did you know that wasn't really the first discovery of gold in California? The year was 1842. It was Francisco Lopez's 40th birthday. California and the Santa Clarita Valley were still part of Mexico, and Francisco had studied mineralogy at the University of Sonora. He was up here in Placerita Canyon running cattle while he scoured the valley for gold. One afternoon, he took a little siesta under an oak tree just east of the 14 freeway and dreamed of striking it rich. Well, guess what? He awoke from his nap, dug up some wild onions, and right there, clinging to the roots, were chunks of gold. Next day, Francisco sent off his gold to the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, where it was found to be almost pure, 916 fine. The Mint report makes it the first documented discovery of gold in California, and it sparked California's first gold rush, too, when 2,000 miners from Mexico proper descended on Placerita Canyon 6 years before Sutter's Mill. Want to learn more about Santa Clarita Valley history? Click on scvhistory.com or stop by the Saugus train station in downtown Newhall weekends 1 to 4.